Hey TPT sellers, my name is Mike Fuchigami and I am the host of the SEOTpreneur YouTube community. This is a place where we use strategies, effort, optimization, and tinkering as a framework to help us get to our goal. We're all at different stages of the TPT journey. Some of us are just starting. Congratulations. Super excited for you. Some of you are on the hamster content creation wheel, and some of you are towards the end where you're starting to burn out or you're starting to wonder, is there something better that you can use your time for? So it's kind of exciting for me because I get to chat with you through YouTube or through email newsletters or through the SEOTpreneur Pro community. I get to see different stories. Some of the TPT sellers that I chat with are absolutely crushing it. I've coached a few people who now make a lot more than I do. And I've worked with other TPT sellers where I can see where they're at now. They're going to absolutely crush it in August and September when the volume is there. Obviously, not everyone is doing well. I myself am down several thousand compared to last year. And if I'm being honest with myself, it's because I'm not putting in the effort on my TPT store like I should be. And it is what it is. Right now, I've put my EduCircle store on the back burner and I'm letting it simmer while I focus on creating tools to help TPT sellers like you. So this video may not be for you. If you're tired from teaching full-time at school, this video is going to require some thought. I'm going to show you some numbers. You might be overwhelmed with the sheer volume of data, and that's okay. You can come back to this video next time. If you've tried really hard at your store and it's not working yet, and you're mad at the TPT search algorithm, this might not be a great video for you to watch right now either. On the other hand, if things are going great for you and you're worried that they're going to stop, this is a good video to watch. Because I'm going to show you how we can use data to try to improve our products, to figure out why our resources are doing so well right now. Likewise, if your resources are not doing great right now, like mine, we can look at data to figure out, okay, I need to fix this, this, and this. The problem that I have is I know what I need to do to fix, but I'm not doing it. And part of it is because I know exactly how much work it's going to be to fix those resources. Sometimes it comes down to opportunity cost. The time that you spend working on your TPT store is time that you are not spending working on something else. And if you're a great salesperson and you could sell cars, the amount of money that you can make from the single sale of a car is way more than the amount of money that you're going to make as a new TPT seller. So I'm going to walk through some changes that I just made this weekend to try to make it easier for other TPT sellers to crush it in their respective niches. This is a graph showing the TPT hamster wheel. If you go to freesellertool.com and click on download the advanced version, sign up for the SEOTpreneur newsletter, and you'll get a forced copy link to create your own version of the Google Sheet tool. You're going to need to use something that I call the data locker. And so on freesellertool.com, if you scroll down and click on watch videos, it'll take you to a table of contents. And I'm just looking, here we go, for data locker. So if I click how to use the data locker, it'll take me to a video tutorial where I explain how to set up your product.csv in the data locker and how to upload your sales data into the data locker. I've already connected the latest version of the advanced data tool for TPT sellers with my data locker. Let's start here with the TPT hamster wheel, which is about product creation. When I first started making YouTube videos about selling on TPT, I chatted with some TPT sellers who were frustrated. They were creating products, but they weren't seeing a return on their sales, right? We sort of expect, well, if I have 10 products and I make this much money, then if I have 100 products, I'll make that much money. But it's not a linear relationship. So at that point of the game, I sort of thought, well, yeah, it makes sense that you need to get eyeballs to your products. You need to up your marketing. Now, in May 2024, a few of the TPT SEO experiments that I've done have really shown to me that, yeah, constant product creation and constant activity in updating your resources creates what I call a TPT store halo effect. And this halo effect boosts the TPT SEO ranking of all of your products temporarily. And that's why sometimes you'll reply to a comment or you'll publish a resource on your store and all of a sudden you'll hear ka-ching, and that's the sale of a different product. But I think it's because that product had a boost in SEO because you were active on your store. Originally, I was trying to 10x my income on my TPT store. Right now, I'm in maintenance mode and I would be happy just to make the same as last year, but I'm not there yet right now. My product goal is to make 1 time as many TPT products as last year, Maybe your goal is to make double the amount of products as last year. This shows me how many products I've made. I've made one, and that's this blue dot over here. Whereas last year this time, I made 6 products, which is the orange color over here. So in theory, if I'm trying to double how much I've done last year, well, I should make 12 products. I've got 11 more products to go. There are 5 more days left. I think if I only did TPT, maybe I could crank out a couple of resources, but that's not realistic for me right now. So part of the problem I have is my content creation numbers are down. What about you? Are your content creation numbers up or down or the same compared to last year? This is a graph of the last 12 months starting from today. The blue color is this year. So this year I've made 1 resource this month. Last month, I've made 7 resources. The month before that, I made 8 resources, etc., etc. So I can see that I had sort of a spike here where I was trying a lot on my TPT store and I was creating content. And I'll talk more about that later because I didn't see a proportional gain. And then likewise, if I look at these numbers, the orange shows me how many resources I made last year. So last year in May, I published 6. And then the previous month in April, I published 1. So you can see that last year in the summertime, I kind of did spike and I did some work on my TPT sales. So that makes me think, well, Mike, if you're not going to make a bunch of resources in the summer, you can't expect to have the same amount of sales in September because you're doing less work. And if you believe that there's a halo effect and it's a cumulative snowball, then yeah, cranking out more resources right now is really important. So even though I know that, probably I'm not going to apply my effort there. That's just because right now in my TPT journey, I'm creating content for students and teachers on the back burner and putting on the front burner, creating content for TPT sellers like you with tools like this. Will this tool help everyone? No, of course not. But some people are going to be super excited by what we have here. And those are the people that I can help now. And then over time, I'll start to create more courses that walk people through these skills. And eventually, hopefully this will help rise the water level in TPT land so that more TPT sellers can access their data and make business decisions for free. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Don't pay attention to the reviews and how many orders. We'll talk about that in a second. You can see underneath this chart where we're talking about effort, I can see a bar graph in colors how many resources I've published so far. And the title will show up here underneath here. So here's the 1 resource I made this month. Here are the titles of the 7 resources I made last month. Here it is for May last year. Here's what I made. And then April and then June next month. I can see visually here, sure, last month I was crushing it and I had 7 resources compared to the previous month I had 1. But I didn't see an increase in sales necessarily. So we can look at that data in a second. Some of you are crushing out resources and you're seeing the sales are working and you're worried that the shoe will drop. I'm going to zoom out so you can see more of this dashboard. It's going to be definitely overwhelming at first, but it's the kind of thing where the more we use it, the more we get familiar with it, the more we can start to look at specific places, and the quicker we're able to make business decisions. So I'm going to scroll up to the top here. And when you first open up, it used to be called the 10X dashboard, and now it's just called the SEOT dashboard. SEOT stands for Strategies, Effort, Optimize, and Tinker. I'd like to talk about going to the gym. I can't remember where I heard this, but your body is a result of the choices that you made several months ago. So if you were eating well, and being active several months ago, then you'll see those results later on. It's not immediate. And likewise, I think it's like that for TPT sellers as well. We have certain inputs. I think there are 3 things that we can control. We can create products, we can update products, and we can market those products. And by marketing, I think of it as bringing eyeballs to your product pages. This is what we have control over. Likewise, if I'm trying to get a 6-pack, my inputs would be what kind of food I consume, what kind of exercise I do, and what kind of sleep I get. So these 3 things are things I can control. And as a result of these 3 things, we have certain outputs. Based on our actions, we get page views, we get previews, people wish list our resource, we might make sales, so it affects our sold rate, we have earnings, and then we have reviews. So those are the inputs and outputs of the TPT system. And if I bring it back to the gym metaphor, the way my body looks now, the way that I feel in my physical health is probably a result of the choices I made several months ago. Likewise, the outputs in your store, like your earnings, your sold rate, your preview rate, your page views, That's a result of what you are doing, your inputs. You're creating products, you're updating products, and you're marketing products. Yes, there's always more we can do. There's never enough time to do everything. But if your store is doing well right now, then look at your creating schedule. Look at the kinds of resources you're creating. Are those resources selling? Well, chances are if you continue to do what you're doing, you'll continue to have the results that you're seeing right now. Likewise, if I think about me, my sales are down. And if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'll probably continue to have lower sales. I would have to significantly change what I'm doing to get different results. And if I'm being honest, I'm not willing to do that right now on my TPT store because I'm focused on TPT sellers and brick and mortar clients. And that's just a choice right now. But it's a pendulum, it swings. And maybe if I make more TPT sales, maybe I'll be more excited to work on my TPT store. It's a journey. If I go to the very top, there are some exciting things in this dashboard. So up here at the top, we have lifetime store statistics. It's accurate up to Sunday, May 26, 2024. And that's the last product stats CSV file that I uploaded into my data locker. Now, for those of you who use this tool, this date might be a little bit off. And that's because it's based on this sheet down here, TPT Product Stats CSV. And up here in the corner in cell B1, there is a date picker, for lack of a better term. And I can choose the date. So right now it's May 26th. But if I wanted to see the statistics based on a different date, and these are different dates that I have because I've uploaded all of these product stats CSV files into my data locker. I'm going to go up to the top to show today, Sunday, May 26th. And I'm going to go back to this SEOT dashboard and let's zoom out here. So up here on the left-hand side, we'll have a closer look in a second, but in the left-hand side, I see my sales funnel for the entire TPT store, followed by my top 10 products lifetime for all of my resources. And then I see some stats, some breakdowns for the number of products I have, the number of page views I have, the number of units sold or downloaded, and then my store conversion rate overall. This section I have up at the top is for the lifetime of the store. That's because the product stats CSV file that we can download from TPT shows us the entire lifespan of our resources. But if you have a product stats CSV file from today and from 7 days ago, then all of a sudden we can calculate how your store is doing based on the last 7 days instead of the lifetime of your store. And so this bottom part here shows the exact same information as this top part, but based on the last 7 days. This is a game changer because you can see exactly how your store is doing in the last week instead of over the averages of however long your store has been open for. And this is possible because at the bottom here, we have something called the Extreme TPT Product Stats. And that lets us compare things like, oh, I want to see my data from the last 7 days or the last 28 days. So I just changed it to the last 28 days. And if I go to my SEOT dashboard, all of a sudden I can see my stats for the last 28 days. Compare it to the lifetime of the store. I'll walk us through in a second, but pay attention right here to this top 10 list because we can see sections in red. And if we fix those sections in red, then we can improve our store. Crazy, right? So let's zoom in and I can see in the top left corner here, this is my sales funnel with page views, previews, and units sold, focusing on the paid resources in my store. So since I started my store 6 years ago or whatever it is, I have 200,000 views of my paid products. Not all of my products, my paid products. And I can see visually that, well, okay, the previews, it's about a third of the people will look at the preview, but then maybe at like what, a 20th? That's a small fraction of people who will actually buy my resources. If I go to Teachers Pay Teachers and type TPT seller into search, I show up as Mike Fuchigami's TPT seller tips. And when I open that up, I can see down here the easy TPT data tool. And that is the easy version of this advanced, crazy, overwhelming data tool. But when you download this resource, it lets me get a simple version of the data tool. And at the top of the spreadsheet, it tells you what to do if your sold rate is red or your product preview rate is red or your page views are down. In fact, if you scroll down, there's even a video you can watch that explains how to use the tool to figure out what to fix. It's all about fixing the stuff in red. But I know from watching that video that if my sold rate is so low compared to my preview rate, it means that my previews aren't doing a good enough job of explaining the value of my resource so that the value of the resource is way higher than the price of the resource and it's a no-brainer to buy. I know I have to fix my previews, but it comes down to effort. I'm not willing to put in the effort to succeed. because it has a cost of opportunity. It means that I can't make this sort of tool. Change is hard. Active citizenship is hard. Critical thinking is hard. But yeah, underneath the funnel, I can see the lifetime earnings for the store. And then it shows me the dollar amount per page view and the amount of money per resource sold. So what does that tell me? I put dollar amount per page view because it's really about getting eyeballs to your resources. So sometimes when I was blogging and I was sending traffic from my blog to my TPT product page, I would have to remind myself, okay, every time I get a page view from my blog, that's like 44 cents. Eventually, when you get enough page views, someone converts and they buy a sale. It's like cold calling in sales or going door-to-door sales. Knock on doors, eventually you'll get someone who'll buy your product. And it's not personal. If you get to a door where someone really doesn't like door-to-door salespeople, I mean, it is what it is, go on to the next sale. Because the faster you go through more doors, the faster you call more people on your list, the more likely you'll get a sale. So this is just to remind me that, okay, every time I send traffic to my resource, that's 44 cents that I just made, in theory. Now, I put price per resource sold here because I use this data tool a lot when I'm chatting with TPT sellers, and it's interesting to see how much their resources cost. Are they making a lot of money because they're selling a lot of small stuff? And if they're selling small stuff, is there a way to upsell to bigger bundles? If we upsell to bigger bundles, then the earnings per resource sold goes up. And this starts to get into the idea of how can we get repeat buyers who are just raving fans of our stuff, who come back and they buy more stuff and they tell their friends and their friends buy stuff because it's a community of like-minded thinkers who really enjoy your content because you're creating content for you and they're like you. Beside the sales funnel, we have the top 10 products. And below that, we have a statistic like 4% of your products make 88% of your earnings. I put that statistic there to remind me of that 80-20 statistic, which is that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. And if you can optimize what you do to do more of that 20%, then chances are you'll disproportionately increase your earnings. I know a lot of us will get excited. You'll hear me say something or another TPT seller coach talk about, oh, do this or try that. And you think, okay, I'm going to do that for all of your products. But that might not be the best use of your time because not all of your products return revenue. These 10 products created $76,000 of earnings for me, and I've only made $87,000. So there's 100, 200 products that have made in total, I don't know, 10,000, which is a lot, but it's small compared to these big 10. So if I only have a limited amount of time to work on my store, then I have to work on my top 10. But remember that this is your lifetime top 10. And if I zoom out so we can see the big picture, what we really want to be working on are the top 10 products that are working right now. And chances are there'll be some overlap, but there also will be some hidden gems where, oh my gosh, this is doing really well, but I didn't notice it because it's not in my top 10 products for the whole lifetime of my store. Well, yeah, no, of course not. It hasn't been around that long. But we'll talk about hidden gems in a second. Beside the top 10 list, we have number of products. So in my store, I have 244 products. And I can see visually here green, I have 217. So most of them are paid resources. But I have a good chunk of free resources, 27. And then I use that to sort of think about my strategy. Are my free resources upselling to my paid resources, which are upselling to my big resources? And beside that, I can see the number of page views. So I can see disproportionately here. Look, this portion, 11% of my product line is free, but my free resources account for 46% of my page views. Does that matter? Maybe. I'd be curious to hear what your numbers are like. Some people are only looking for free, and that's okay. Those aren't really my people. My people are the ones who are looking for free, and when they get it, they feel, wow, this is awesome. What else do you have? And eventually, as they get more free stuff, they start to think, okay, well, it sort of becomes unbalanced. And there's this sales psychology principle of reciprocity. Think about Christmas time or a gift giving time that you have. When you receive a gift, do you feel like you have to give a gift back? And that's the idea about reciprocity. Now, I know not everyone falls into that with products. I know of some TPT sellers who are like, no, if it's free, it's free. And they're okay with that. They accept that. But I also know of TPT sellers who, yeah, if I get something free, I feel like I need to give back a little bit. And that might be leaving an awesome review, or that might be buying a small resource, or that might be eventually buying more stuff and they're going down the sales funnel and they're becoming part of your community and they keep on buying things. They keep on spreading the word. This is interesting to see that a good chunk of my page views come from free resources, even though I have such a small proportion of resources that are free. I'm going to scroll down here. Next, we have the number of units sold or downloaded, and this is calculated from our product stat CSV. And the number of downloads is way more proportionately compared to my paid resources. I'm okay with free downloads even if they don't lead to a sale, because I think those free downloads help with your TPT SEO. I think they're part of that halo effect, and those downloads help boost all of your resources. I'm okay that 94% of the downloads from my store are for free resources and not paid. That's okay. It's an ends to the means, which is to boost my TPT SEO. Finally, on the side here, we have your store conversion rate, and this is the overall conversion rate. I can see that it's made up of my free resources, which is 61%. When you calculate the paid resource conversion rate, which is the number of resources sold divided by the number of page views, then you only get 3.2%. Gotta check the math here. 6,428 divided by 200,715 is 3.2%. Let me know if you find a statistic that doesn't make sense or surprises you. Now, I know from chatting with TPT sellers that my conversion rate's quite low. The step before buying is looking at the preview. And so my previews are not good enough right now. I know how to fix them. I need to make them less words, more value. Don't just show a watermark version of your resource. Show them big picture concepts with mockups. I know how to do that. I know what to do. I'm not willing to put in the time. I'm not okay with that because I want to do everything, but I have to learn to be okay with that. So that's what you'll first see when you click on this SEOT dashboard. If I zoom out to maybe 75%, I can start to make some comparisons between how my store is doing right now in the last 28 days compared with how it's doing lifetime. So in the last 28 days, my conversion rate is down a little bit. It's around 2.9%. I mean, that's only 0.3%. It's not horrible. Obviously, the numbers will be down, but if I compare the proportion of paid to free, I see that there are more paid resources right now, slightly. That's interesting. If I look at the number of page views, of course, the number of page views are down compared to a lifetime, but proportionately, I see that people are looking more at the paid resources right now. That's interesting. If I look at my sales funnel, the shape of my funnel, I have a little bit more previews maybe, but I have fewer units sold. The average amount that they're paying for a resource is around the same. So what do I get from this? Well, for me, I get that, yeah, the funnel is working about the same. It might be working a little bit worse because of the units sold. If I got more things at the top of the funnel, if I got more eyeballs, that would lead to more sales. But another way I could get to more sales is use the eyeballs I have, improve the conversion at each step. It's sort of like you have a bucket or a pipe. Instead of losing water from different holes in the hose, what if we patched up that hose so that more of the water got to the end? So let's zoom in here. And I think this part is probably the most important part from an effort perspective. If we're talking about inputs, which is creating products, which we have down here with the TPT hamster wheel, the second part is updating products. And updating products is this stuff. And it comes back to fix the stuff in red, Mike. That's what you need to do. Okay, so I need to focus on my top selling resources. Here are the top 10 selling resources I have. Now, I know a lot of us have very similar product titles, and there's not a lot of room on this dashboard. I'll double click this here. I can see the product name. I have here the sold rate, the wish list rate, the preview rate, the page views. This is the funnel. I'm gonna start at the bottom of the funnel, which is what's stopping me from getting more earnings. So I'm going to look at the red, and this is just a gradient of the 10 resources shown here, which ones have the worst numbers, and the worst numbers show up in red. Well, this end of your life skills activity, the critical thinking resource, has the worst sold rate. How could I fix that? The problem with this is it's the preview. The preview is not convincing them to buy it. And I can see here people aren't looking at the product preview. All right, so I'm gonna copy this title, Control C. I'm gonna go to Teachers Pay Teachers. I'm gonna go to my store. And if I scroll down, I can search for products in my store, and I'm gonna hit enter here. All right, there's my product. Now, some of you are thinking, oh, should I fix the cover? Should I fix the product title? That's a separate part. That's, if it's red, we'll fix that. Right now, the problem I have is that my sold rate is so low for this critical thinking resource. If the sold rate is low, it means that the preview is not doing its job well enough. So let's look at the preview. What do I have? And it looks overwhelming and confusing, right? Can you blame them? If I'm looking for something quick to teach, or at the end of the year, my brain is tired. It says end of year life skills activity, and it's true. This is great for using at the end of year when you want to do something productive, but you don't want to just throw on a movie. No problem. This is awesome. And you can use it again at back to school. And that's the language I'm using in the product description. But this is way too word heavy, and I haven't changed this since I first made this many years ago. Well, what if I look at these other products? Oh, no preview available. Oh, no preview available. Oh, no preview available. Well, Mike, the reason why no one's buying this resource is because the preview isn't selling it. So I need to fix that. And I have to decide if I'm looking at it from a position of business, and if I have to follow the money, will I make more money by fixing that resource, or will I make more money by creating YouTube videos, and then someone's watching this and they type TPT seller on TPT and they like the kind of stuff I make on YouTube, so they're curious about my TPT seller store, and then they find this crazy TPT SEO keyword tool, $120, no way. But the ultimate bundle is only $10 and they're price anchored at $120. So they first saw $120. That's so expensive. $10 is nothing. And you get everything that I put on my TPT store for free after you buy this. It's a no-brainer, right? So I have to decide if I'm more likely to see success in sales with the ultimate bundle compared with the hours and hours it would take to update all of the previews for these resources. So if you're watching this, some of you might decide, yeah, Mike, maybe I'm not going to be a TPT seller after all. And some of you are going to decide, no, Mike, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I enjoy the process, or this is coffee money for me. Right? So in that case, that's awesome. Fix the stuff in red. Start at the sold rate, fix the stuff in red. I didn't put the wish list in color because the theory is basically you communicate the value in the preview. And if you've explained the value of your resource here, but the price is so close to the value that it's really not worth it, they're waiting for a sale when the price drops. And then the value discrepancy between the value you described in your product description and your preview is so much higher than the price of the resource. It's a no-brainer to get. But I think that'll be captured in the sold rate. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to focus on things that are red in the sold rate. I think the wish list rate and the sold rate communicate similar things. So let's look at this preview rate. And I can see right away, end of year life skills. What is this? This is my critical thinking resource. The preview rate is low. This one here, my character resource, the preview rate, oh, it's better. The worst is this one here, my ChatGPT critical thinking resource. It's a bundle. Why is the preview rate so low for this? Okay, let's look up this resource. Control C to copy it. On my TPT store, let's search for it. Okay, here it is. I found the resource. If the preview rate is low, it means that they're not looking at the preview. So we look at the step before that in the funnel. And the step before that in the funnel is they've landed on your page. Well, look, Mike, they look at your covers. Well, there are no covers here, Mike. So you have the front cover, but you don't have the thumbnail covers. So you're not communicating value in there to make them curious to look at that preview. Or they're scrolling down here and they're reading the description, but this isn't enticing them enough for what they're looking for. And I think if I was to redo this, I probably would put at the top here, well, what is it? What do they get? Why would I want to teach this slideshow lesson? Are the marks in, but you still need to teach something at school? Here's a 40-minute lesson, or here's a critical thinking bundle. Here's 2 weeks of content. So I need to explain that more so that they're interested in looking at the preview. If your resource is low priced, they might just buy it. If it's only $1, I'm not going to waste time to look at the preview. I'll probably just end up buying it because it's $1. On the other hand, if it's $100, I'm definitely looking at the preview before buying it. So part of this will depend on the price of your resource. But Mike, you've got to add covers here. This is something that you threw together and it was good enough at the time. But obviously, if you explain what's in this resource, I probably would get more sales. So I know what to do. I'm optimizing my approach and focusing on what's important. I'm simply not applying the effort. And that's a problem if I want to grow my TPT store. The last part of the funnel we'll talk about today is page views. So if your page views are low, the ones in red are low. So this one is low. I'm going to copy the title. I'm going to search in my TPT store for that title. And here we go. If the page views are low, if they're in red, it means your resource might be showing up in search, but people aren't clicking on it. If this showed up in TPT search, would I click on it? And during the workshop that we had this weekend, one of the ideas that I haven't even thought about, but someone said, oh yeah, what's 10x mean? No, if it says 10x, I'm not getting that. And then I thought, yeah, you're right. Maybe part of the problem is 10x is just, wow, you're going to, what does that even mean? Or originally I was thinking you can 10x your reading comprehension or your reading participation or your reading engagement. And that's literally because instead of doing a whole class conversation with one teacher and 30 students, if you split that up into 10 groups, like partners or groups of threes, then all of a sudden you have small groups engaging, and that's literally 10 times more student conversation engagement than waiting for the teacher to pick people and talk to them, right? That's where the idea came up from. And maybe that's like, yeah, that would turn me off. I'm like, that's arrogant for you to say that, right? Or maybe be like, yeah, 10x, yeah, I don't even know. I'm going on to the next one. The second reason why your page views might be low is because it's not showing up in TPT search. The first reason is, yeah, people don't want to click on the resource. And if people don't want to click on the resource, think about what you have in the cover, think about the keywords you're using, think about the snippet that shows up in here. Is there enough to make them curious enough that, yeah, this is exactly what I need. I need this right now. I got to teach in the next 20 minutes. If it says print and go, they're paying more attention. If it seems complicated, they're out. They need something in the next 20 minutes. That's the first problem. The second problem is your product is not showing up in TPT search. And if that happens, it could be because of the keywords you're choosing. Maybe you need to choose better keywords. Here's a video about high volume, low competition TPT keywords. If I click on the videos of SEOTpreneur, and if I search for keyword, I have videos about this. I'll post them in the product description. Here's a video that shows you the exact search volume for a keyword on TPT. Here's a video that talks about high volume, low competition keywords on TPT. Here's a video about TPT SEO impact of keyword in the title. So yeah, there are resources here. If your page views are down, you might need to tinker with different keywords to see which one gets you more page views. Now remember, I can change the date from last 28 days. If I go to the extreme TPT product stats, there's the drop down menu. I could go the last 90 days because as we hit summertime, the last 30 days or the last week won't be a good reflection of what you need to work on because it's summer and most students are out. If I go back to the SEOT dashboard, it now shows me statistics for the last 90 days, and I can play the game of trying to fix the top 10 resources. But for conversation, I'm going to go back to the last 7 days. So let's switch this to the last 7. This only works because every time I work on my TPT store, I save the TPT product stats CSV file and I upload it into my data locker. All right, we've talked about these 3 categories: number of page views, units sold, and store conversion rate. So I'm going to scroll down. Let's talk about reviews. Oh, this is for lifetime stats. I probably should mention that. Yeah, little things. This is a tool that's constantly evolving. I'm a big fan of publish at 80% perfect, which is good enough to get it out there. I know some people in TPT land like to say there's a 10% review response rate, as in 10% of the people who get your resources will leave a review. That has not been my experience. I'd be curious to hear if it is your experience. Overall, for my paid resources, 5% or 1 in 20 people come back to leave a review, and pretty much no one does for a free resource compared to how many times it's downloaded. I can see at a quick glance my store rating based on my paid resources versus the free resources, if you're curious about that kind of stuff. Let's scroll down. Now we're going to start to look at our sales data. So if I look at this SEOT dashboard, we have the lifetime stats at the top. We talked about the last 7-day stats, the hamster wheel product creation stats, the reviews. And what I'm going to go through now are these blue sections, which answer some questions based on our sales data. Something to note is that your total earnings from your product stats CSV file and your sales data file may not match up. In fact, they probably won't. The first question is, did you upload all of your data? And for me, the answer is no. The last date of sales I've updated is Saturday, April 27th. Today's May 26th, so there's a lot of time that I'm missing. In fact, I'm going to pause the video and upload that right now. Okay, I just updated my data locker. I can see the last date here is Sunday, May 26th. The total earnings is 87,207. And I can verify that by going to Teachers Pay Teachers. I can see the amount of earnings that it says on the sales report page. Second thing here is I have my product stats CSV that I uploaded earlier today. And you can see right away the numbers off, 87,393. Oh, how is that more? If I go to the TPT earnings page, if I go all time, it should be 87,207.41. So this means that I probably have a summary value that I need to delete. This happens. So I'm going to go to my data locker, the problems in my product stats file. Ooh, maybe there was a refund. All right, I'm going to delete May 26th that I uploaded earlier today. I'll get a fresh version for the show. Go to my product statistics page, download to Excel. I'll save that. I'll upload it, file, import, upload, click and drag. Import location is replace data at the selected cell, import data. I'm going to change the date to 2024-05-26. I'm going to copy the top one, I'm going to paste it at the bottom one, and I'm just going to paste in these dates here. And then I have to make sure to delete this header row, delete row. Okay, interesting. So I can tell it's loading because up here there's this blue bar. Now it says $87,409. What? It's still loading and thinking. I'm going to jump to the TPT product stat CSV file, change it to Sunday, May 26th. $87,409.29. That's not right. So the problem could be this formula, or the problem could be the spreadsheet. I'm going to make a quick formula to check this spreadsheet. Earnings is the sum of everything below this. So here we go. This is a perfect example of just weird glitches. The TPT product stats file that I just downloaded says my earnings is $87,409.29. But my sales report says my income is $87,207. And in the dashboard, $87,207.41. The sales report says $87,207.41. And in the dashboard, it says $87,207.41. So the problem is this earnings is incorrect. And that happens. Sometimes the TPT product stats CSV file that we download from TPT is broken when we download it. You can see here that the reporting on the website is fine, $87,207.41. 87,207.41. The website is reporting the data correctly, but the code that they use to create this spreadsheet is glitchy. And I first noticed the problem April 16th, and it's May 26th, and it looks like there's still little glitches along the way. This will affect all third-party TPT data tools that use that product stats CSV file, whether you download it manually and upload it into your Google Sheet, or whether you have another service that automatically downloads it for you. So I need to add it in here. It could be that the numbers don't match because TPT is broken. It could also not match because the product stats file, it's not live. The sales data CSV file is live. So the moment you get a new sale, it's recorded in that sales data CSV. But the product stats CSV file, it seems to update once a day or maybe a couple times a day. So you might be making a lot of sales, but your product stats CSV has to catch up. And that's why sometimes the stats will be off in this dashboard. All right, so this section is how many orders have people bought from your store and not products. The tricky thing about the sales data is that each row here represents a different product, even if they're part of the same order. So here's an order, and I'm going to search for this order ID. And you can see that even though that's one order, it'll show up twice in the line. So there's a difference between talking about orders and products sold. What do I mean by that? The number of orders people have placed on my store, well, there have been 6,172 orders. But if I go up here to the products, I've sold 6,429 products. It's just that some orders had multiple products. So that's something to keep in mind. Now in business, one of the ideas we try to do is to get repeat buyers. And up until now, there hasn't been a free data tool that shows us repeat buyers versus one-time buyers. But we can see this here. So of these 6,172 orders, 88% of them came from one-time buyers. And these are buyers who only bought one resource. Whereas repeat buyers account for more than 10% of my store. What's the practical use about this? Well, the question is, how can we get more repeat buyers? How do we build that relationship? If your store is doing incredibly well right now, the question is, how can you retain them? By retain them, it means check out episode 18 if you want repeat buyers, to get them onto your email list and nurture that relationship so that they're curious about your other products. So this comes back to tinkering. What little experiments can we try to get more repeat buyers? By the way, if you get a calculator, they won't add up to the number of orders. That's because when a teacher buyer deletes their account, their name disappears from your sales record. So you can't tell if they're a repeat buyer or if they're a one-time buyer. That's looking at the orders that are placed. Right below it, it asks the question about how many buyers come back and buy again. The top one is number of orders. The next one is number of buyers. So I really need to change the language on here, but I'll do that in the next draft. Repeat buyers here is there are 313 buyers who bought multiple times. And so that's why you have 733 orders. These 313 people bought 733 orders of stuff. This whole upgrade to the SEOT dashboard happened because there's a TPT seller on the pro side who asked if there was a way to see repeat buyer rate. It's actually a really complicated process. I'm not even sure if I got it right. I'm pretty sure I got it right. If you notice any glitches, let me know. This top graph here shows me the percentage of repeat buyers I have every month, and that's in blue. And that compares it versus last year at the same time. So this year right now, I have 13 repeat buyers. Last year I had 3%. But during the middle of the school year, I can see here, yeah, wow, I had way more repeat buyers in January and February than I did this year. What's going on? And so that's something I might tinker about and try to wonder and figure out, well, why did I lose so many repeat buyers in the middle of the school year? What did I do differently? Did I send out more email newsletters last year? And so the question is, what was I doing in the past that I wasn't doing now? By the way, if you're trying to check this on your own with paper and pencil, I define a repeat buyer. It's not where if they buy it the first time, they're a one-time buyer, and then if they buy again, they're a repeat buyer. If my name is Mike and I buy my resource and I buy it twice, then the first time I bought it, I'm also counted as a repeat buyer. And that's just because I can't think of another way to calculate it. It would be just way too hard. Underneath this repeat buyer rate, I have the number of buyers. So I can see in May, 65 people bought resources. Of these 65, 9 of them are blue, and the blue are the repeat buyers. So this gives me a sense of how many people are buying in my store, not just how much money I'm earning in that month. I'm going to scroll down. The first question is, how much do teachers spend in your store? This top graph here in black, that's what we're used to seeing in the TPT store. But the blue graph down here is how much repeat buyers spend. So now I wonder, how can we get more repeat buyers and nurture that relationship so they come back and buy more stuff? One of the hardest parts of this game is getting page views. But with a repeat buyer, you've already got that customer. So how can you build that relationship either via email or your website, where you start to build trust, you prove your expertise and your experience in your subject matter, you're clearly an authority in this, and they trust you, and eventually that trust leads to sales. So the game isn't just about getting page views. The game is also, how can we get repeat buyers to come back? The last two sections I haven't fully fleshed out yet. The first one is the average order purchase size, and I can see that repeat buyers per order buy a little bit less than one-time buyers, but I'm not worried about that because repeat buyers by definition buy at least twice. We see that here in the next section, how much is a buyer worth to your store? And if I take the earnings of my store and I divide that by the number of buyers, I get the average value of a buyer. But if I split up that data based on one-time buyers and repeat buyers, a one-time buyer is worth $14. But a repeat buyer on average is worth $31. How do we get more repeat buyers? And I'd love to hear your answers. What are you doing? How are you nurturing that relationship? How often do you send out emails? So this is the SEOT dashboard. It used to be called the 10X dashboard, but maybe that 10X phrasing isn't awesome. So now it's just about strategies, effort, optimizing, and tinkering. Now I'm going to send a screenshot of this out to the email news group, and someone is going to ask, what's the difference between this free SEOT dashboard and other TPT data tools? And this question gets posted in Facebook, or people email me privately. So I have an answer. You go to SEOTpreneur.com, and if you click on workshops, and if you scroll down, there is a section about TPT data tools. And you can read my biased thoughts, because everyone has a bias, what the TPT journey is like without TPT data tools, or with other TPT data tools, or with free TPT data tools. And I'm fully aware that some of you will watch this video and you'll be excited and you'll be able to do everything on your own, and this will unlock a lot of business intelligence for you. And that is awesome. But I'm also aware that the data locker is tricky. There's a lot of videos. You don't have time to watch everything. So that's why I'm running workshops. And I'll even point out on this workshop page some of the challenges of trying to learn with video versus just learning with me in a Zoom meeting. So if you're excited by what you saw today, but you're not exactly sure what to fix on your TPT store, and you're the kind of TPT seller who's going to be working a lot this summer, then I suggest checking out this workshop page, because there are only 2 workshops left and there are 4 spots left. So if you learn better in a classroom environment where I explain something, you get a chance to do it on your own store, and then we regroup and ask and discuss questions, then this workshop's for you. Sunday, June 9th, I'll show you how to set up your data locker, and we'll look at that 10x dashboard, the SEOT dashboard, and the Extreme and Epic product stats tool. And it is the fastest way to learn how to use that data tool if you don't have time to watch the videos. If you have a lot of time, go to freesellertool.com, click on watch videos, and these videos will explain how to use the data tools, especially this one about how to use the data locker. This one is key. On the other hand, if you don't have a lot of time, then sign up for that Sunday, June 9th workshop, because those tickets are going to go fast. Awesome. If you have any questions, let me know. My main job right now is to create high quality tools to help you succeed in your TPT journey. So if there's something that you wish you had, or if there's something you wish this could do, leave a comment and let's see what we can do together. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.